What if I told you that a 2,000-year-old journal from a Roman emperor holds the key to understanding that constant battle happening inside your own head? Well, today we're going to connect that ancient wisdom with some cutting-edge science to finally figure out who's really in control. Let's dive in.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You know exactly what you're supposed to do, but it feels like there's this other part of you, this really powerful kind of primal force, just yanking you in the complete opposite direction. It's a frustrating and, as it turns out, a surprisingly common internal tug-of-war.
So picture this. You've committed, you're all in on a healthy lifestyle. Then, totally out of nowhere, this crystal clear image of that leftover cake in the fridge just pops into your head. You try to ignore it, to push it away, but it's like a siren's call, and it just gets louder and louder until, your feet start moving towards the kitchen. So what is this powerful inner saboteur, and why does it have so much sway over us?
To really get a handle on this inner conflict, we need a better way to think about it. And for that, we're going to use this brilliant analogy that might just change the way you see your own mind forever.
Philosopher William Irvine has this great term for that inner voice, your mental roommate. Think about it. It's that impulsive, emotional part of your brain that's behind all the cravings, the sudden outbursts, the procrastination. And here's the thing, you can't just evict this roommate. So you've got to learn how to live with them.
And you're not going to believe this, but one of the best playbooks for dealing with this roommate comes from a guy who lived 2,000 years ago and happened to rule one of the world's greatest empires.
Right, Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor. You'd think a guy like that had it all figured out. Power, wealth, you name it. But if you read his private journal, a book we now call Meditations, you meet a man who is constantly battling his own inner demons, and his weapon in that fight was Stoicism, a practical philosophy for taming that mental roommate.
A core tool for this is what's called the trichotomy of control. It's actually a pretty simple way of sorting through any situation. Let's say your bus is late. Do you have any control over its arrival? Nope, zero. But you have complete control over how you react. You can get furious and waste your energy, or you could, use that time to listen to something interesting. The whole point is to focus your energy only on what you can actually influence.
And really, this is what Stoicism boils down to. You can't stop your mental roommate from screaming, "Eat the cake." But you, the real you, have absolute control over whether or not you listen. Your thoughts and your actions. That's your territory. That's where all your power is. Now, what's absolutely incredible is that 2 millennia later, modern neuroscience is basically coming to the same conclusions the Stoics did. They've just given these internal forces new, scientific-sounding names.
So it turns out our brains have these two competing systems. On one hand, you've got the goal-directed controller. That's your rational, conscious self, the part of you that makes plans and sets goals. And on the other hand, you have the habitual controller. That's your mental roommate, the automatic system that just runs on instinct and repetition.
And the latest science on habits is, well, it's kind of a mind-bender. We used to think habits were all about chasing rewards, but it turns out a lot of them are value-free. What that means is the habit gets stronger just by pure repetition, not by how good the outcome actually makes you feel. That's exactly why you can find yourself just mindlessly scrolling on your phone, even when you're totally bored and not enjoying it at all.
This scientific model here kind of shows those two systems in action. Whenever you're in a situation, both your rational mind and your mental roommate are shouting out suggestions for what to do. Then, a part of your brain, which scientists call the arbitrator, has to decide which one wins. So yeah, every single moment is a constant tug-of-war between your conscious goals and your automatic habits.
So, if our life is this constant inner battle, how do we actually help our rational mind win more often? This is where that ancient wisdom from the Stoics becomes so incredibly practical today.
You can think of Stoicism as basically a workout routine for your rational mind. It's a set of practical, mental exercises designed to beef up your goal-directed controller, giving it the strength to override your mental roommate and consciously choose your actions.
And these techniques are all about breaking that cycle of just automatically reacting. So for example, instead of automatically getting upset when something goes wrong, a Stoic would pause and try to reframe it as a chance to practice being resilient. Or, before chasing some big goal, they'd stop and ask, wait, do I actually want this for me, or am I just doing it for the praise? Each one is a powerful exercise in living consciously.
Just think about this question for a second. Ask this about your own goals. If you couldn't tell a single soul after you achieved it, would you still do it? If the answer is no, well, you're probably just motivated by what other people think. But if the answer is yes, then you know you've found a goal that's truly your own.
So where does this all leave us?
what's the big takeaway from all this ancient wisdom and modern science? How do we find a sense of control in this constant inner battle?
Okay, this is probably the most important thing to remember. That struggle with your mental roommate, it doesn't mean you're flawed or weak. It means you're human. This is just how our brains are wired. The goal isn't to silence your impulses, but to cultivate the wisdom to choose which ones to follow. You are the one in charge.
And in the end, maybe the most powerful tool we have is the one Marcus Aurelius reminds us of right here. Remembering that our time is limited forces us to ask the ultimate question: is this thing I'm doing right now truly worthy of my time? And that's the question that puts you right back in the driver's seat.